Hey, we got the 32nd strength schedule versus the 31st. Let's have a good one. We are here. We are here. Welcome back to the Coach's Huddle, where the field meets family. It's your boy, the coach. And we are back with the faithful review on a Saturday, the day before the game. I got my man, Tom Jensen, here with me. Tom, talk to me, bro. How have you been, Tom?
I've been good, Coach. Got the Track World Championships in Tokyo. Me being a track diehard, I'm loving it. So, good week for me.
It's
and
awesome,
the Niners
bro.
are 2-0, so life is good.
Hell yeah, bro. I mean, I'm excited, man. We're 2-0. It was tongue-in-cheek, but these are the facts. As they say, them is the breaks. We are the 31st strength of schedule team in the league right now currently, and the Arizona Cardinals have the 32nd in the league. So that's just what it is. What I would like to get into is just a couple of things with the Niners, big picture. Obviously, we're going to get into Arizona versus the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to get into some strength and weaknesses, and then pretty much rear up the rest of the show with just some rookie stuff and just how we feel about where they stand thus far. But let's just get into the take. Right now, Brock Purdy, as we saw, injured his toe. His big toe has a little bit of turf toe. All right. And basically what we're seeing right now is that the initial prognosis on recovery for Brock was 3 to 5 weeks. Right. Mac Jones comes in, yada, 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 3 touchdowns, no picks. And now Brock is back. Okay. And he's a game time decision.
Not a coincidence.
Let's just call it like you see it, man. Okay. Now, there were recent conversations from Brock in interviews where Brock was honest about how he felt about it. He didn't say, I'm going to play no matter what. He came out and said, listen, it's a game time decision. It's about really how I feel. Once we get out there, and if I feel good, we're going to go. And, if we don't, then obviously we're going to sit down and let Mac Jones play for his second week in a row at the helm. But let me know, should we even be here right now? Is this too soon for Brock, being as though that it's 3 to 5 weeks? So at the floor, we're talking what? At least 2 more weeks from now before we can even circle back to see exactly how Brock is doing. Where do you stand, Tom? Should we even be in this situation where Brock should be testing out as a game time decision, or should he be sitting down? What do you think?
He should be sitting. If you have a 3 to 5 week prognosis, that means that it's highly unlikely that he's close to 100%. Mm-hmm. And you don't want him playing with a risk of re-injury. He got paid as a franchise quarterback. He needs to think like one, which means you need to put the war ahead of the battle. And in that case, that means, in a football sense, the playoffs over an individual game. And Brock needs to realize that you're in a different context now. It seems to me that he's reacting as he would pre-contract Brock, where he'd say, I got my job through injury. I don't want to lose my job through injury, so I'm going to rush my way back. Fortunately, it looks like the Niners are saying, no, don't. And they have to protect their asset. They've invested this much money in Brock. He's their franchise quarterback. He's not going to be vacated from that position. So he needs to have more self-confidence and more faith in the Niners to say, I'm not in danger. I'm not in risk of losing my job, no matter what Mac Jones does, because I'm the franchise quarterback and they paid me accordingly. So Brock needs to think in those terms. And I like the fact that he's sitting in this game, or it appears to be. He might be active. He might be the backup quarterback, but that's about it.
Hey, this show is brought to you by CPT. May not be there when you want us, but we're always right on time. Back to the regular schedule programming. I agree with you, Tom. One thing that did stick out was that there was going to have to be a shot involved or administered, rather, to get Brock going. I, I'm against that. Right now, it's early in the season. We're undefeated, right? We need to start taking advantage of a light load, a light schedule. You know, we understand that coming into after we play Arizona, we've got Jacksonville. All right, you know, really, I wouldn't be mad if Brock was ready for the Rams, right, at Week 5 in LA. So you know, I don't see the rush. I don't understand exactly why he's pushing back. And another thing that I'd like to highlight is Brock injury prone, right? Like the congruence of injuries to every year that Brock plays is starting to bear out, right? Like it's
Yeah.
consistent. Brock is getting hurt every year and potentially missing games. I mean, what do you think about uh the book on Brock? Like, is this it? Is this his jacket? Or are we just looking at extenuating circumstances, like stuff that just happens and they're one-offs? And we're just happen to be seeing a trend.
I think the injury prone aspect is inherent because he's small for the position.
Mhm,
So if you play the way Brock does, where you don't slide and you don't protect your body and you're small, that combination is risky. And we've
mhm.
seen that play out where he keeps missing games. So I think that Brock needs to adjust again. He needs to adjust to the contract and know that the greater value to the team is your availability at 100%.
Mhm.
So you don't play until you're 100%. And once you're on the field, protect yourself more than you have. I think Brock needs to do both. If he doesn't, then his injury problem is going to be a persistent one for the team. They're always going to be waiting to see, is Brock going to be 100%? He's going to have knickknacks. He's going to have games where he's game time decision or not going to play that week kind of stuff. You want consistency. So to
Right.
me, I would much rather see Brock wait until he's 100% and then go. But yeah, is he injury prone? Yes, because he's too small for the position.
Mm. Well, yeah, I do think that, but I agree with you, but just coming from a different angle. Pause. The thing that I wanted to talk about uh Brock and where he stands with him being injury prone is his style of play. I don't even think it's necessarily how big he is. There's quarterbacks who have been Brock's size, right? And who have managed to stay consistently healthy, right? And my thing is that I think that he needs to protect himself a little bit more. I mean, it's not for like let's look at some of these injuries, okay? When he first started, he had the rib injury against Seattle, right? Diving out of bounds to go across the pylon hurts his ribs, right? Then we have the other injury that I think he had hurt his knee, scrambling, trying to go for a first down. I think that Brock needs to. Is there a world or is there a narrative where Brock needs to take care of himself more?
Yeah,
Does
I
he
think
play a
that's
little too
that's clear.
reckless?
Yeah, I think he does. And part of that is his competitive nature. It's just how he wants to play. But he needs to put a new context on himself of saying that I need to protect myself as the franchise quarterback of this team. If
Hmm.
we're going to be a playoff team, I need to be available. I need to be consistent. So, yeah, I would like to see Brock ducking sideline more often, sliding more often, and not going head first. You know, the turf toe against Seattle apparently was a run on the sideline where he got tackled in a bad place, and it's just boom. You know,
Hmm.
it's you have to be a little bit more defensive in the way you play the game. He needs to protect himself more.
Let me ask you this. Close this out. You think he plays?
No, I think that at most he's the backup for the Arizona game, but I don't think he'll play.
Nah, you don't. I don't think he'll play either. It's just, I don't know, man. It doesn't actually. It doesn't mean anything. This game is just. I mean, I know it's a division game. I get it,
Yeah,
but the potential of what it could cause, the lingering effects, it's just not worth it. We just paid him.
Yeah.
You know,
the risk reward on this is crazy. There's the risk is way too high relative to the reward, especially when you're playing an Arizona team that's easily beatable.
mm-hmm.
That Mac Jones can win this game. You know, it's the next 3 games that are tough. That's when I want Brock to be at a healthier position.
Right.
Because those are the tough games. Arizona's a beatable team. They've played, as you pointed out, the 32nd schedule in the league, the easiest schedule. Niners next to easiest. So do you really need to put Brock out there? No, I think he's defaulting to what he's thought in the past of, I got my job through injury. I have to make certain that nobody takes my job because I'm hurt.
Right.
But he has to elevate his thinking. He has to get more mature in the way he approaches that.
I think he'll find his way. Brock is conscientious.
Yeah, give him time.
Yeah, I think this is more of a finding, like, kind of wearing the fit. You know, like, let me walk in the shoes a little bit. Let me break these in. I think Brock is a lot of these little things that I'm seeing with Brock early. I tend to err on the side of him just breaking in a new pair of shoes. Like, it's just he needs to find his way, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not really concerned about this, but there are some pitfalls there, right? Like, let's just say he takes a shot, right? Brock takes a shot. That shot's going to be done by like third quarter, fourth quarter. Like, it's going to wear off. And then all of that stuff is going to come rushing back by midweek. Right. And then we got to deal with the effects of not what it was before he played, but what it is now that he's played on it hard. Right. And now we've got a lingering issue that he's going to have to manage throughout the entire season versus let's take our time. Brock, sit down for another 2 weeks, come back much better. Then we're still managing, but we're managing at a much higher level than we would be as he would if he would have played. So I like it this way.
Yeah. It's putting the big picture first, and that's what they need to do.
Yeah. So, hey, speaking of the big picture, let's get to it. So, look, we already saw the game, okay? Mac Jones comes in, drops back 46 times, okay? Drops back 46 times, but actually passes the ball. I think he was 26 for 39, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 113.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, number one, the utilization of Mac Jones, right? That 2-minute drive before the half was one of the best I dare somebody to find a better 2-minute drive
under Kyle
that the 49ers have put together.
Yeah, I think that might have been the best 2-minute drive they've had under Shanahan.
It wasn't even 2 minutes, man. It was 59 seconds.
It was that efficient, and it was great. Go ahead, man. That you have to ask, how much of that is Mac Jones? How much of that is Kyle Shanahan?
Man.
That needs to be part of the question there.
We're a slave to the game. I'm sorry. I'm not loyal. I'm not. When I get a guy and I like him a lot and he's playing and I love him when he's on the field. But as soon as he's gone and somebody else steps in and I see a different way that the position is played, you see new wrinkles. It may not be better than the guy that's hurt, but it definitely is different. And sometimes you can get fooled into thinking that it's more than what it is. And that's what I want to say before we get into Mac Jones. Be forewarned. Mac may come out. Let's just say hypothetically, Mac is done for Mac plays for 5 weeks, right? Mac goes all the way, plays the Rams, right? And he lights it up. Don't forget that Mac Jones is playing with the Niners, and we have by far the easiest schedule that we have seen in 9 years. Don't forget that. Yeah. All right. So just understand that Brock had his 8 games in a row, his heyday that we fell in love with him for that season. but Brock was playing some dogs now. All right, he wasn't playing New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's just the truth.
Oh, but yeah, you got to factor in the competition.
I digress. How do you feel about the performance?
I loved it. You know, he admitted after the game that he had nerves. So his first 5 throws were incompletions. Then after that, you factor that in, he goes 26 for 34, 76% completion rate. You know, when he's settled in and ready to go. And I would argue that now he is settled in. I don't think he'll have nerves in the Arizona game. It's just he needed those nerves initially because that's his first snaps as a Niner.
Right.
I think that's past him now. And so you look at that and say, all right, basically what this is Mac Jones has his strengths, Brock has his strengths, and they'll play out differently depending on the opponent and the situation. But Mac Jones in a 2-minute drill is a better quarterback for this team than Brock Purdy. Mm-hmm. But Brock is a better quarterback for them in terms of evading pressure and, you know, running for first downs, and his loyalty that he has with the team, in that he's had a lot of success, so there's a lot of belief in him. Mm-hmm. But as Mac Jones continues to win games, Mac will have that same faith and belief from his teammates as well. So it's just a question of, okay, you've got 2 capable quarterbacks, which is rare in the league this year, to mm-hmm. have a quality backup. And just be thankful for your blessings that you've got Mac Jones and that you can do this. And when you've got a player that's as injury-prone as Brock is, to have Mac Jones is a great thing. To have Mac Jones for 2 years is an even better thing. So I think that they're in a good position, and they just need to play to their strengths, whatever that is. You know, if it's Mac Jones, you play one way. If it's Brock, you play another way. But either way, you're still efficient. You're still running Kyle's system. You're still moving the ball. You're still doing things the right way. Where I think Mac helps them is that he's got more zip on the ball. He can throw into tighter windows. Mm-hmm. He can challenge players that are DBs that are close but not that close. He can make those completions where Brock might not necessarily have the same success, mm-hmm. where it'll be a lower completion rate. It'll be more on the receiver to make the play than the quarterback. When Jones is the quarterback, I think he helps the receivers to make the play more. But that's, you know, it's A and B. Both of them work, and that's the key thing for the Niners is both of them can succeed. Both of them can be optimized in this system. Both of them can win.
All right. I'm going to take your beautiful salient points and I'm going to put them in the mud.
Okay.
What attributes of Mac that are different from Brock, i.e. Mac's accuracies, more zip on the ball, being able to aim and angle the ball in, right? Mac being able to run the 2-minute drill more proficiently. Let's just be honest. Mac Jones, he literally and figuratively stands taller in the pocket. He just does. Yeah. His presence is clear.
Clearly helps. Yeah.
Yes. His presence being in the pocket is a whole different ball game from what you get out of Brock jump passing. It is what it is.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right.
No argument.
However, Brock has his strengths as well. Processing power, being able to run the offense efficiently, his athletic ability, scrambling, right? Are they both a wash? But what would you rather take? What would you want?
It depends. If I had a better offensive line, I would take Mac Jones. Since I don't, I take Brock Purdy as the starter, and am very thankful that I have Mac Jones as the backup.
All right.
Because Mac Jones will get hurt behind this line, given that he doesn't evade the rush as well.
Yeah, but let me put it like this. Who gets the ball out better getting rushed, Mac or Brock?
Mac. He holds the ball for a shorter period of time. If it's 2.8 to 3.4. Mm-hmm. And that certainly helps the line. But I'm still worried about if Mac could hold up physically against a line that's not that great in pass pro. He gets the ball out quickly, but he can still get hit.
True. Yeah. Mac will still run now.
Yeah. I was surprised that there was some positive runs for him. Because my expectation is you're not getting past the line of scrimmage. And he did. Yeah, so more power to him.
All right. So look, I will say this one more messy point because Marissa, you are a kindred spirit because I feel like I was not the only one. This is the first time somebody has mentioned this. I've been talking about this since I saw it during the game, and I thought I was the only one who saw this. I mentioned this to Jesse, Grant, Ryan, I mentioned this to everybody in content space and fans of the Niners, and everybody acted like I made this up. Like this was like a phantom, like I almost got like the Mandela effect. Like that didn't happen, coach. And I almost believed, I was like, did I see that or not? Like I tried to look for it on the all 22. Bro, when Max scored, I think what was that, the third touchdown? Or the second? It was the third touchdown. Dude, it was the third of the second touchdown. And he came to the sideline and Kyle grabbed Max's helmet and like had like an eye-to-eye moment with him. I have never seen Kyle. I've watched every game this man has coached for the 49ers. I watched every game he coached for the Commanders. Okay. I didn't watch him much in Atlanta. He had to go to the playoffs, but I watched a lot of Kyle. I have never seen him respond. He never did that with Jimmy. He's never done that with Jimmy. He never did that with RG3, Kirk, right? He didn't even coach Kirk, right? I've never seen Kyle react to a quarterback like that. I'm telling you. Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong, chat.
Well, the chat says it wasn't Kyle, it was the quarterback coach. I couldn't speak to that, as I would need to see a replay to see if that was Kyle or not.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, he's animating the sideline. They love what he's doing. Now, the chat is saying that prisoners of the moment were reacting too much to one game. Granted, it's New Orleans. They're one of the 4 worst teams in the league.
That's true.
Understood. And
they're dog water.
We need to see more of what Mac Jones can do against better teams.
Mac could play it up tomorrow.
But I so far I like what I see. And I think that, regardless of competition, you can make a objective statement that Mac has more zip on the ball, can throw into tighter windows as a result. That's just fact. I don't think that's opinion or a prisoner of the moment. That's just who they are. But as you pointed out, you still need to emphasize what each one does well and what the offense can do through that quarterback. The great thing is they've got both.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you, man. I think we're in a really good. This is the first time where the quote actually it's apt. It matters. Remember 2 to 3 years ago? I think this is when we had Sam Darnold, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, and I forgot who other the fourth guy was, like Nate Sudfeld or something. And like the mantra of the offseason was we have the best quarterback room in the NFL. Like nobody has a better. Remember that? Like we have the best quarterback room in the NFL.
Yeah. At the time, I was rolling my eyes into the back of my head.
Right. That was like when Trey was vying for like number 2 with Sam Darnold. But bro, I really feel like that this year. I think that
they've got the best backup. I don't think they've got the best quarterback room. I mean, would anybody change? If you're Buffalo, would you take the Niners instead of Josh Allen? No. So, it's quarterback room can still be a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But the important distinction is among all the backup quarterbacks in the league, Mac Jones is looking very good one game in against New Orleans.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see what he looks like tomorrow. Nothing big. We don't want to overshine anything, make something bigger than what it is, but we'll see exactly how he does well against Arizona. And he should. They've got some issues there. Smack Jones, thank you. Fire content, coach. When I hit DC, drinks on me. Matt gonna get us where we need to be, earn a second chance. Now, if we had to pay Brock this summer, I don't know. Well, let's talk about that because we were going to move on to the next topic, but let's talk about that.
Okay.
Is there a path? Well, let's stick with Smack Jones's. I like where Smack is going with this. If Brock is not paid, are you looking at this? If Brock is not paid this year and he's going to prove it year, are you kind of looking at what Mac is doing is like, man, this is real. This is a potential controversy.
Yeah. It can become one, I guess, is the way to frame it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's just Mac looked great against a bad team. Let's see what else he can do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But going forward, if Brock hadn't been paid and they said, okay, we want to see you for another year, the injury right at the beginning of the season would be a concern for the Niners in signing him to a big deal. Mac playing well would be something that they'd have to factor in. But if Mac did really well for multiple games against good defenses, against quality secondaries, and was able to stay healthy and evade the rush or get the ball out and stay healthy, then okay, then there could be a discussion. But the Niners have made their decision. They've gone with Brock, and I think that long-term, Brock can help them more than Mac could in terms of just, to me, holding up. I would worry about Mac Jones holding up. If Brock went out for the season, for example, would we still have some concerns about whether Mac could then play the rest of the year? I would.
Okay. I like that. And just, for shits and gigs, is there a possibility if Mac balls out with Brock being paid right now? Do you believe there's a path that maybe the locker room, the sneaky take or the sneaky narrative around this is, and the only reason why this persists is because Brock is pushing to play, that Brock is trying to play because he wants to get ahead of Mac Jones possibly outshining him. And the performance of Mac Jones versus the Saints elevated Brock to want to play. It elevated his time clock. So
yeah,
do you think there's anything there for that?
I think Brock is being reflexive, that he knows in the back of his mind, I got the job through injury. I cannot afford at any point to let anybody take my job because of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be hurt and let somebody replace me. I could lose my job. But that's not factoring in the contract. That's not factoring in the locker room. That's not factoring in Kyle. I think there's a lot of factors that would say, look, dude, don't think that way anymore. You are not Mr. Irrelevant anymore. You're the franchise quarterback now. Think like it. Big picture. Come back when you're ready. Don't come back just the soonest I can possibly play. I need to play to protect my job. No, you don't.
Right.
You've proved to this team that you can take it to the Super Bowl. You've proved that you're capable of great stats if Christian McCaffrey is healthy and producing. You've proved that you can lead this team and they believe in you. So there's no reason for you to be paranoid about Mac Jones taking your job away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in your scenario where you say Mac Jones plays well and goes through 5 games and just balls out and they're 5-0, is the locker room going to think differently about Brock? I don't think so. I think they'll just think differently about Mac Jones. That they'll be even more confident that even if Brock is hurt, we're still one of the best teams in the league. We can just go out there and roll it out. I think that's the way they would think. I don't think that they would then say, gee, maybe we should trade Brock and keep Mac. Yeah, I don't think that's in the thinking.
I feel that. Let's get into our next topic, Tom. Arizona. We got Arizona coming up. First home game of the season. Niners are wearing the crispy whites. I love it. We got them coming in. We're 2-0. They're 2-0. I believe that there's, outside of Seattle, everybody in the division is 2-0, and Seattle's only losses by way of us, right? Right now, if we're looking at the Arizona Cardinals, they're tied for 12th in the league right now for 47th point scored overall. They're 11th overall in power rankings by way of PFF. They've got the 16th ranked overall offense, the 8th ranked overall defense, 17th ranked overall special teams. If we look at their identity, they are a run-first team, right? They've got Trey Benson at running back, James Conner also with Kyler Murray in the backfield. And if you see what they've done in the 2 games, I think that their biggest issue right now is trying to get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. There's a couple of games where Marvin Harrison Jr. has only walked away with single digits in targets as well as catches, and they're looking for a little bit of explosiveness. I don't think that they've had any explosive plays thus far moving up with the team. Now, On defense, it's a whole different ball game. I think they're completely revamped, especially their defensive line. One thing that's really helping them moving forward is the acquisitions of Josh Sweat and Calais Campbell. Huge for them. Calais Campbell is almost kind of like turning back the hands of time. They love exactly what he's doing.
That guy's amazing. Yeah. How old is Calais Campbell now? It seems like he's like 39 and he's producing like this. And you say, my God, man. He's just ageless. It's incredible what he does.
I am just godsmacked at what he does, man. Calais Campbell, he's going to be a problem for us. I'm telling you right now. But don't look now, but the guards and the center, they better get their act together. Also looking at what they've also got out of sorry about that. Also, Dalvin Tomlinson is another guy that they've picked up that's been very big for them. That's somebody on their interior. Now, with Josh Sweat, huge upgrade for them in the pass rush ability. I think he's got about maybe 2 to 3 sacks. I know that Calais Campbell already has 3 sacks. As far as looking at their offensive line and their defensive line, I think they were a little bit more out of Darius Robinson, their year 2 pick. They're getting a lot of production out of him. And also the creme de la creme, what they really want out there is Walter Nolan, their rookie that they just drafted, which is hurt, and he's on IR. But just kind of looking at, that's my little take and spiel on what I believe their strengths are, which is that front defensive line. That's been what's carrying them. That's been something that they haven't had in a long time. A defensive line in the front seven that they can necessarily count on. What say you? How do you feel about the approach with Arizona?
I agree. In terms of Arizona's strengths, I think that they've clearly decided in the offseason we have to upgrade our run D. And they did. Calais Campbell, brilliant signing. One of the best run defenders in the league for a decade. And he's still playing, just the ageless wonder. And, Tomlinson was a great signing too. Imagine what they could be if they had Walter Nolan healthy.
Yeah.
That would be a dangerous team. The Niners are lucky that they're not playing this Arizona team with Nolan.
Right.
Because that would shut down the run game even more. So that's going to be a big strength for them, and it coincides with the Niner weakness, where the Niners have not had success running up the middle, but have running wide. Right. So I think that that's going to kind of dictate is that Arizona strength inside the defensive interior is going to force the issue, and the Niners are going to have to find different ways of attacking that defense. Other strengths for Arizona, I would say, is their tight end. McBride is one of the best tight ends in the league. He's very reliable on third down. He doesn't get big yardage, but he makes big plays. Momentum plays, first down plays. McBride is always there. And even with Fred Warner, you're still going to have your hands full in trying to deal with McBride. So he's somebody that I'm worried about. The other factors in terms of their identity, you said that their identity is running the ball, and that was true. The problem for them is that they haven't had that level of success this year.
He's averaging 40 a year, 40 a game.
James Conner, when he played the Niners in the October game that they won, had 86 yards. This year, he's averaging 36. Last year, he was averaging 4.5 against the Niners, 4.5 yards a carry. This year is 3.2. And one of the things that people have pointed to is that Arizona lost their run game coordinator to Dallas. And that could have an impact on how their offensive line is playing. Are they playing as cohesively as they did last year? Why is Conner not having the same level of success? So I think that's a factor. The other thing for the Niners is you always have to worry about Kyler Murray running. And apparently there have been reports that, and here's the value of Robert Saleh, he had a team meeting for the defense about containing Kyler Murray as a runner specifically and folded it into the game plan. Nick Bosa says he's really hyped about the game plan.
Wow.
And so this is Saleh knowing that the Niners have been burned before. And I think that if they can contain Kyler Murray running the ball, and if Conner can't get untracked, they're halfway to a win already. So I think that Saleh recognizes that and says we have to find a way to stop him. And it's not just the defensive line maintaining their lanes, it's everybody. It's the full defense. And if there's been one thing that you can look to the Niners that's been sort of a signature of this defense so far, it's that they all swarm to the ball.
Yeah.
the Niners are first in yak against, and that's because they swarm so well. Last year, they were 28th. That's a huge difference in the defense.
Man, Tom, you are on fire today, boy. I know you was going to bring it like that today, dog. All right, let's get into a couple of weaknesses that they have. Offensive line. So I'm not really worried about the entire offensive line that they have, but there is a weak link. Isaiah Adams, their first-year starter at right tackle, at right guard, I believe. He's going to be a problem. One thing that I will say right now is that when you look at their run by direction team totals, one thing about them is that they're averaging -3 yards on the right side, with 3 runs to 8 runs coming from James Conner. Now, if you look at what Trey Benson has done for them moving forward, everything seems to be good. They're clocking, the majority of what they do is they run up the middle. They're averaging 6 yards to carry up the middle. From the left guard position, coming in through that gap, they're averaging about 4.7 yards up the through that gap, and they have the most carries on the left-hand side of the offensive line. If you look at what they've done through the middle, and 18 carries, coming out with 14 carries and another 18 carries over these 2 games combined, that's where they tend to do a lot of their running, right? One thing that they do stay away from is that right side, because there just doesn't seem to be a lot of headway over there. Now, one thing I will say is that as far as QB sacks and QB pressures from the right side, it's just as bad. So I'm looking for a lot of action and a lot of stuff to be coming from our defense on that right side of the offensive line for the Arizona Cardinals. Another thing that I'd like to point out for them is their linebackers. Now, we all know that Mack Wilson Jr. is class personified. That's their guy, kind of the tip of the spear. But a new acquisition that they brought over in Hakeem Davis-Gaither is not necessarily finding the field consistently. He's not been playing a lot of snaps. They've been folding him in with other linebackers. And when he has been on the field, it's been underwhelming. So those are 2 things that I feel like are keys to a victory as far as on defense, where I know that Saleh is going to exploit that side of the offensive line. And one thing that kind of walks right into what we do, especially for Kyle Shanahan, is linebacker play. Being able to play against those linebackers in those rules. I think if Hakeem Davis-Gaither is on the field more than we can expect him to be, that's where you'll see a lot of maybe Jake Tunges coming in and having a bigger game. Maybe seeing a lot of CMC in those short intermediate routes in that hook to curl area with him sitting inside the zone. We'll get a lot of stop routes and things from Ricky Pearsall. Being able to mix up that hash to hash area in the field where those linebackers reside. Another thing that I wanted to talk about as well, as far as weaknesses, injuries. Arizona has got a lot of DBs that have been out. The last game, their good cornerback, Will Johnson, came in, went out of a game, came back, practiced once this week, reported that he feels good, but he's a game time decision. Also, Max Melton was also another cornerback for them that went down. He actually came back. He's in practice. They also have some guys that actually went to IR that they lost. They lost Garrett Wilson, their vet, one of the guys that they really count on, a 24-year-old guy that they count on. And then also down early was Sean Murphy-Bunting that they lost, right? So these are all DBs that they've also taken. Don't look now as far as IR is concerned. LJ Collier, their defensive line, another defensive lineman that they sent him over to IR as well. So there's a lot of areas where we know that Will Johnson is going to be a game time decision. He's more than likely going to be back, as well as Max Melton. But Collier, Williams, Murphy, Bunting, and Thomas V, those are all guys that will not be playing in this game. What do you think, Tom?
I think the DBs are critical. That they've already lost 2 DBs that were starters. Then Will Johnson he did have the one practice, but he's listed officially as doubtful. Right. So we need to factor that in. He might not even play. Max Melton has a bad knee, so he's questionable. So he's going to play, but he's not going to play at anywhere near 100%. If Will Johnson plays, he's even less than 100%. So here's where Mac Jones comes in. Somebody that can challenge a DB in a tight window is that you can throw at these DBs, because not only is it the bottom third of their DB room, they're hurt, they're banged up. Even the guys they're playing aren't healthy.
Right.
And so that's where I think the game plan needs to utilize Mac Jones and say, even if these DBs have coverage, can they maintain it? And so that's something that Mac's going to have to look for, and the receivers, of how do we go after these guys when they're missing at least 3 of their top DBs in their DB room.
Well said.
That's huge.
Yeah,
and that has to be a part of the game plan. And then not having Walter Nolan, and the linebacker they signed is mid, and so they've got one great linebacker, but that's it. And one thing that Kyle will always focus on is poor linebacker play. He'll kill it.
He does. That's his forte.
That's one of the things that he always looks for. His style, his game plan, his system is predicated on a team having weak linebackers. The teams that stop the Niners have great linebackers in volume. The teams that don't are the ones that only have one guy. And we saw that in say the Seattle game, that Walter, they had the one great linebacker, but the others weren't a factor at all. So I think that the game plan for the Niners is going to be test those DBs relentlessly and go after them. And I think it'll be a big game for CMC as a receiver going up against the non-linebackers, so to speak.
Yeah.
You still have to deal with, some of the great players in Arizona. So, they do have some very talented players that got small pros. Those guys will make plays. It's just that, can you isolate other players on the field? It's their starting 11 has maybe 6-7 guys that are good and 4 guys who are less. And it's up to Kyle to exploit that.
Yeah, I agree with you. This kind of walks into a lot of what we do. Saleh is really an expert at exploiting offensive lines, especially tackles, being able to generate guys pressure off the edge. That's a lot of what he does. And then Kyle, like you said, he's class personified, and not only setting up plays and being able to game plan, but picking out linebackers in their jobs, in their skill set, to be able to make them wrong, play games with them. So this game is, I have us winning this game. I think I've seen this even with the injuries, what they've got in DBs. They even called up another DB from practice squad, Darren Hall. He had a pretty good preseason for them, but I mean, nothing to write home about. So their secondary is pretty much struggling. Also, one thing that I wanted to bring up is just a little bit of what we can look for them. They are struggling with explosive plays. James Conner is averaging, even though that their identity is the run and they're 2-0. James Conner is averaging 40 yards a game. Okay, that's it. Yeah,
it's not good. At 3.2. Part of that is losing the run game coordinator. Part of that is Conner aging. Part of that is just the team hasn't come together yet. One question I have is, Arizona playing the worst schedule in the league, or the easiest. Are they playing down to their competition? Have we seen Arizona kind of playing with their food, and that they're actually a better team than this? That could be something that factors in. We need to remember that division games, teams will always come up and play a better game.
Dog, this is why, man. Okay, so what's funny about that is I didn't watch it. I had somebody, I was about to lie on stream. I did not watch the game, but I had somebody in a chat tell me about the Panthers in the Arizona game. And they were saying, at the time, like, yo, Arizona is dogging the Panthers. Like, it's a wrap. And I was like, man, we may actually have a game. And then I went back. Yes, Carolina's bad. But at the same time, dude, if you go back and look at that game, Carolina actually came back in the fourth. That game, Carolina put up 22 points against them. So for me, there is a little bit of that where that did cross my mind of like, is Arizona better than what they are? Even though they're 2-0, they have a tendency to like lay off the throttle. They may not be that much of a mature team yet, right? So they play hard when things are clicking and they just don't know how to close out. But I don't know. We
Well,
may see a
or
really good Arizona tomorrow.
possibly, I think we'll see the best game Arizona's played this year just because it's the Niners. It's a division game.
Right.
They'll be up. They'll know that they have to play better than they have. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they let Carolina back in the game. They let New Orleans back in the game. They never put either team away, even though they're two of the worst teams in the league.
That's so
So
true.
part of that is they were on cruise control. Part of that might be also, though, that their defense lacks stamina. Is their defense fading in the fourth because they're just not in shape? 3 games in, maybe you finally hit game shape. We'll see. But if they fade in the fourth, then that's something that's a long-term issue for the Cardinals.
Yeah. Hey, and look, I can't say this, JM617, but I felt that way. But I didn't watch the game, so I didn't feel like I could say that confidently that Arizona escaped the Panthers. But we got to figure it out because I don't know. Like the Panthers came back in that game. I know for sure because everybody was talking about like, yo, Arizona might be a game. They're dogging the Panthers. Even though it's the Panthers, they were still showing well. And then out of nowhere, I'm like, dude, I like went back and checked the score. I was like, yo, the Panthers came back. So We'll see, man.
And part of that can be focus. Part of that can be stamina or just what kind of shape they're in. We don't really know, but I think that we can assume fairly, pretty safe assumption that Arizona will play their best game of the year because they're playing a better opponent and they know it's a division game. And so I think that we'll see a better Arizona team. But can they still win this game given that James Conner has been a key to their wins against the Niners in the past, and he's not what he was. And they still haven't figured out how to get Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball more than 4 to 5 times a game and should.
Which is a problem.
So let's see what Arizona can bring. But I still think the Niners win. And I think part of that is because Arizona's banged up in the secondary and the Niners can exploit that.
Okay. I just got challenged. We got to look at this. So the 2 to 5 weeks I got from Cam's dad, Coach, you're all wrong. 2 to 5 weeks info was from a talking head insider, not the Niners. I'm disappointed in you. And Brock will play, and turf toe was never confirmed. Oh, all right.
We'll see.
So here we go.
We'll see. The smarter play, Cam's dad, is for Brock to still sit because you don't need Brock to win this game, but you do need Brock as close to 100% as possible for the next 3. So I think that Kyle is going to choose the big picture, which means keep Brock healthy for when you really need him. You don't need him in this game. That's the point.
Don't be disappointed in me, Cam's dad. I just got a talking to. I just got a tongue lashing from my pops. My bad, Pop. My bad, Dad. My bad. So look, let's get into what we also need to get into, which is Niners strengths and weaknesses. I don't know if this is a strength or a weakness, especially with recent news. Talk to me about Connor Colby at left guard.
I think he's a better player than Barch. And I think that given Barch's frequency of getting hurt, they're much better off keeping Connor Colby out there and letting the offensive line develop cohesion and continuity. That benefits the team long term. And you're going to want to move on from Barch next year anyway. So why not invest in your rookie so that they can get accustomed to playing together and that they'll be a better unit as the season goes on. I like what I've seen from Colby. He got hurt in practice, though, so he's questionable for this game. But given that they don't have anybody else, Spencer Burford's out. He's already been declared out for this game. So what are they looking at as a backup? Matt Hennessy? Colby's going to have to play. And I think it's still a good thing long term that Colby continue to play so that you can develop the continuity that an offensive line needs to play well.
So is the book out on Connor Colby playing? Because that is the truth. He did strain his groin in practice. Is he good to go tomorrow, or do you know?
He's listed as questionable. So if it was really bad, they would have listed him as doubtful and listed him as out. So I would still expect Colby to play basically out of necessity, because otherwise you're starting Matt Hennessy at guard. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good look. Straining your groin, I don't know, questionable. We just don't know how bad that is.
Yeah, you have to know the severity, and we don't.
All right. Coming into the Saints game, one thing that we have seen is there was an uptick in play. I want to stick with the offensive line because I got to give as much as I take. Pause. And the thing about that is that Trent Williams had a far better game this week than he did in week 1, right? I kind of feel that way about the entire offensive line. They struggled a little bit early protecting Mac, but they settled in nicely as the game progressed. The offensive line actually did have a fairly decent good game against the Saints. Talk to me about this is moving forward as a strength and how the Niners can continue this trend moving forward into the game against against Arizona.
I think they played well against New Orleans once they got settled in. Mm-hmm. And you have to look at the Saints and say, they've got some very good ends. Cam Jordan has been playing really well this year. So they got it done. And it's just a question of what's your relative health and is Trent going to get in better shape? If Trent made this big a jump from 1 to 2, what's his jump going to be from 2 to 3? My contention has been that Trent came into camp out of shape and he's using the games to get in shape. Hopefully he got in shape or close to it against New Orleans. And now we're going to see an even better Trent this week. And that's my expectation. And usually as Trent plays, the Niners play well with him. Part of the reason the Niners have been so bad in explosives this year, they're last in the league in running explosives, is because they don't have Trent at 100%. Now that Trent is nearing that, I think that they might have more success, might be able to break one.
Yeah. I really like just what they've done with the run game. There was a back-to-back rhythm going on between Christian McCaffrey and B-Rob. I love that. I think they're going to settle in. Dominic Pooney hasn't necessarily. He bounced back from a very shaky game in week 1. So I'm encouraged about where they've gone. Look, there's an off-season conversation about the offensive line, and there's an in-season conversation about the offensive line, right? The off-season conversation doesn't do us any good right now on the in-season.
Yeah, and it's played out. It's done. It's irrelevant now.
Right. So I'm choosing to love on them right now because you got to call a spade a spade. They did well. Offensive line played good.
I just look at it and say they made progress, and that's the critical element. As long as they keep improving, we'll be fine.
Progress is apt. I like that. Now, moving into the defensive line, particularly some rookies. Speaking of more bounce back games, Alfred Collins had a far better game. And I mean far better, right? It was progress, but Alfred Collins actually had a good game against the Saints. I love what he did against the run game. He had pad level, staying low, churning his feet. He had a better motor. It seems as though that he just needed to kind of get through the first game to kind of understand what the pace is going to be like. I really liked what he did. But if you think about what your first round pick is supposed to look like, it's not everything, but it's something. Mykel Williams had a game. He was stout against the run, really good about pushing the pocket. Mykel Williams looked like the 11th overall pick in this year's draft. Talk to me about Mykel Williams and what you saw from him against the Saints.
He's getting more disruptive as he starts to get a feel for the game. He's learning the game as he goes, and he's becoming more of a factor. So in the run game, he was critical. There is some stat, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's something like when Mykel plays against the run, they give up like 25 yards. And when he's off the field, they give up an average of 75 to 85. That's the difference he makes.
That's it.
And so having a guy that's that disruptive inside is something the Niners haven't had since Buckner, really, of that level of a player having that kind of an impact. He's still going to need to learn pass rushing skills because basically he's still beating players on athleticism, power, and speed. And he's going to need to add technique. But as we're seeing with Alfred Collins, for example, he can be coached up, so can Mykel. And Mykel over time is going to become a pass rush factor, and that's going to make the Niners even more dangerous. For Alfred Collins, we both hated the pick.
Oh my
Let's be
God.
honest. We were apoplectic. And I'm still not a big fan of taking a 2-down player in the second round. I don't like that at all.
No.
But it's still night and day. You still look at Collins in the first game, and he's got his back to the runner on one play where he's just completely turned around and doesn't know where the block is coming from. And he's on skates because he's playing too high. His pad level is way too high.
Mm-hmm.
And then against New Orleans, you saw him actually making plays.
Yeah.
And now this is the physical player that the Niners identified and said, this guy can anchor our run D. You know, he still needs a lot of technique work. He'll never be a pass rusher, in my opinion, until he's starting from scratch as a pass rusher.
Never say never, but it's going to be a long road.
Right. But he wasn't drafted for that. He was drafted to stop the run. And he's showed against New Orleans that when he's right, when he's got his pad level low, when he's playing the way he should, he's a physical force. And that's something that the Niners can build on. And we also need to see more from CJ West. And I think that over time, we're going to see the rookies get a larger role as they prove that they can earn that role from Robert Saleh. And they'll continue to be a force. So the defense, it's only up from here. They're just going to keep getting better.
I agree. And I will tell you, just some more strengths that stuck out for me. Jake Tonges had another good game as far as being a pass catcher. He struggled a little bit once Juice went down and had to get moved back to fullback, but I still like him in his original position as a detached tight end. Also, we already talked about Mac. For me, Fred was in D Winners, man. I mean, he's stacking games now.
He's playing well.
D Winners
the
is
issue
playing
with D
well.
was, could he diagnose and finish? Can he take the right angle and be in position to make the play? And now he does.
Yeah.
And that was the big hurdle he had to clear, and he's cleared it. And that makes him a factor.
Right.
And Fred is playing like the defensive player of the year right now. So
did you see him on that third down?
My God.
Against Juwan Johnson? Dog.
Yeah. It's just
cold.
Fred, when Fred opened the year before he got hurt, he was playing at defensive player of the year level.
Yes, he was.
And he's playing at that level again now. And so is Nick Bosa. And so that serves the defense very well to have two guys that are playing at an all-pro level to start the year is just gold.
Yeah. Look, I'll tell you this. The strengths are great. They're awesome because they'll grow. Also, Jair Brown at big nickel, playing closer to the line of scrimmage.
Give Saleh credit. One of the things that Saleh does so well, he'll identify a player's strength and find a way to use it.
He doesn't seem too excited about moving out of position. He's gone very hardcore, letting us know that he's a safety. You almost want to start calling him Safety Brown, right? But you got to be with the one who want to be with you, not the one you want to be with. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's some OG language that you got to understand it, man. You know, be with the one who want to be with you, not the one you want to be with. Because the one that wants to be with you is going to want to be with you for you. Okay? All you got to do is just show up and be yourself. And you good to go. The program is there. But if you get with the one you want to get with, you always going to be chasing. Never going to be good enough. Always comparing. I'm telling you, that is my advice to Jair Brown. Take your role. Do it seriously. Understand that you can find a niche for yourself in the league that can push you to some longevity. There's a lot of success at that position that goes around in the league. Don't be so pressed to call yourself the best safety in the league, and you ain't even the best safety on your roster.
Well, he was lucky to make the 53.
Because of injuries.
Based on the camp. Because of injuries, but also because he's regressed from his season. But in this case, I think Jair needs to embrace the role of just say that Saleh knows what he's doing. He says that you do this well. Embrace that and play in it and just succeed. I mean, that's your future in the league is a hybrid safety linebacker because you're a good safety / linebacker in run D, in run support. You're a liability in pass coverage. So know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and play accordingly. And, if I'm Jair Brown, I welcome this because once Steve Wilkes left, Jair Brown fell off.
He fell off a cliff. Yeah. So that's just my biggest thing. Like, look, if you're finding success at big nickel, man, you're on the field.
Yeah.
Stay on the field, bruh. Stay on the field. I had somebody
otherwise
that
you
I
won't.
Dude, I had somebody that I knew that was playing big time ball and super talented kid. And he was a freshman and he wasn't finding the field. But this was like an all-world kid, never sat the bench, right? Played every down in high school, went to a very prominent high school out in this area. And he wasn't playing when he was at this D1 program. And I told him, dude, you can do special teams in your sleep. You need to get on special teams, bro. And he scoffed at it. And I used to every time I saw this kid, I would tell him, dude, get on PAT, get on kickoff, get on punt return, get on punt. Like, you're going to get film, dude. You're going to get on the field. And if you just show your diversity and your skill set and you make plays, that alone is going to start giving you opportunities at your position. And he never took special teams seriously. And it used to break my heart, bro. It used to break my heart, bro. So, like, yo, listen.
You've got a guy that's a 4-star, and he won't see the vision of, if you go out there and prove your athleticism, now you're going to catch the coach's eyes, and they're going to say, okay, how can we use this guy?
Yeah.
They're going to take what you show in special teams and structure a role for you.
Dude, like,
you have to create that opening for yourself.
100%.
Put your ego aside and just say, how do I best utilize the talents that I've got right now? Special teams.
Look, I'll just tell you, like, this is the thing. Like, what kills me is that, making a football team or being a part of a football team is no different from ingratiating yourself with any type of organization professionally, right? Yeah. And a lot of times when you have kind of like these open spaces environments, like a team where you don't necessarily have a manager, you have some people that are over you, but it's pretty much, hey, man, like, make yourself useful. When you get in those type of areas, bro, grab a mop, man. Just be the first guy there, the last one. Like, the little things get you noticed, man. And the equivalent of that on a football team is special teams. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no question.
If you show that you are not good enough, you are not too proud to be a gunner, you are not too proud to be L1 or L5 on kickoff, you are not too proud to get on PAT, and you actually are doing the job to your best ability, that is the easiest way for coaches to fall in love with you. At the very least, they're going to make sure that you're on the roster because you just do what you're told. Like, I love this kid.
Yeah. It's you have to know that you're filling a role and showing your value, which then leads to opportunity. You have to see how it's all connected.
Right.
And some players do, some don't. But the players that really play hard on special teams and make a difference, they prove that they love football. And if there's anything a coach wants to see, it's that. It's love the game. And they're playing hard every time out. And once they see that from you, they can have more faith and confidence in you in a structured role on the field. So from Jair's point of view, he has to take this role and say, this is the sustainability that I've lacked. Mm-hmm. This is the role that I need so that I can get my next bag. I can continue to add value. If he insists on, I'm going to be the safety, he'll be out of the league and playing in Canada. Know your role, know your limitations, know your strengths. Saleh is structuring things to your strengths. Appreciate that and fulfill that. And I hope that he does.
I'm pulling for Jair Brown, really, man. I mean, I know Jair Brown's DB coach, Coach Anthony Poindexter. He coached my little brother over at UVA. He was my brother's recruiter back in like 2010.
Oh, nice.
So like I'm aware of the type of like coaching and tutelage that Jair Brown has been under. And he comes from a real meat and potatoes background. right? He comes from a very down-to-earth, hard-working, blue-collar background as far as the type of coaching that he's taken on. I'm not claiming to know Jair personally, right? But from the coaching standpoint, I just know that he has that in him because I know what type of coach Poindexter. I know what type of coach Dex is, right? So he can come in here and take over that big nickel role, Jesus, and actually carve out a role for himself in the league, and I don't want him to be the next Jimmy Ward, man. I don't want him to be the next Jimmy Ward.
He doesn't have the skills for that.
Well, he's not. Yeah, you ain't gonna be. Well, being Jimmy Ward is a whole different ball game. Let's stop there.
Even that role of just saying that, not necessarily playing it as well as Jimmy Ward did, but just the structure of the role. He can't do that either.
Right.
Big nickel is his future in the league. He needs to embrace that.
He does need to embrace it. Now, speaking of other things, I like how we've talked about the strengths. Let's get into a couple of things that are weaknesses. I feel like every game, every rookie is going to have their turn. Week 1, it was Upton Stout, right? Upton Stout was the squeaky wheel. They were picking on Upton Stout. I loved his resolve, by the way, and how he responded to that. Never stopped playing, never faltered, loved his energy. But this week, it was Marquise Siegel. Marquise Siegel struggled. Now, I will say it wasn't there were some processing errors where you could tell that he was a little confused of where he needed to be. Some stuff he was just there, and God didn't give him enough inches, to finish out, tipping the ball,
32-inch arms, and you're up against a 6'6" tight end, you're going to lose.
That's going to be a problem. Now, I got Trey McBride and Fred being the matchup tomorrow, to be quite honest with you. So I'm not necessarily worried about Marquise Siegel and Trey McBride. But just as far as weaknesses are concerned with the Niners, the DBs have to be the weakness coming in. Jason Pinnock struggled against the
overall secondary, not just the DBs, the safeties.
The safeties as well,
this was my concern throughout the preseason. I was saying this from the top of every building I could find. Mm-hmm. The safeties suck.
The safeties are trash. It's the truth.
This is the worst safety starting duo in the NFL.
Yeah, they're whack.
The Niners dodged a bullet in Seattle because Clint Kubiak was a moron and didn't throw at the safeties. And
they may get it again this week, John. They may get it again this week, Tom, because the Cardinals they don't have any explosive plays, man. They're not throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah, I think the same thing will be true with Arizona, is that the Niners dodged a bullet in Seattle because Kubiak didn't throw at the safeties. New Orleans did. They got 3 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. But Spencer Rattler had Olave wide open in the end zone uncovered, threw behind him so far that he couldn't even complete the pass, and that's the game. Yeah, and so what the NFL has proven is that when you throw at these safeties, you burn them. And so the combination of a great offensive coordinator and a great quarterback is a lethal danger to the Niners on defense. However, is Arizona that? No, I think they'll dodge another bullet because Arizona doesn't do that. That's not part of who they are. Mm-mm. However, Jacksonville, Liam Cohen, one of the best offensive coordinators in the league. Trevor Lawrence, a decent quarterback. He can execute. The Rams with McVay, they're not about to not throw at the safeties. Tampa, same thing. So the next 3 weeks after this game, the safeties are going to be the biggest liability, the biggest threat, and you're going to be facing teams that have the combination of offensive coordinator and quarterback to kill it. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest worry going forward. But for this week, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. My worry is more about Renardo Green matched up against Marvin Harrison Jr. If he does get burned, I think the Niners are going to have to let Diamador Lenore travel and keep him traveling to wherever Harrison lines up.
Right. Hey, man.
That's the backup plan if they need it.
Look, final predictions. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but what do you got for the game? Close us out.
I got 24-17 Niners winning basically by going after the DBs They're going to have to still convert in the red zone to do that. I think they'll have some success because the DBs aren't good and because Mac Jones can throw into tight windows. I think that's going to help them in the red zone. Defensively, I love the fact that Saleh has a game plan specific to Kyler running. And if you take that away, Arizona's done. I don't see how they can win this game if Kyler doesn't have a good game running the ball.
Hey, I'm not mad at that. I actually have the same score. I've got Arizona losing to the Niners. I think the Niners are going to probably win 24-13. I got this score right here off of Lee Ving. I have it. I agree. I think that the offensive line is going to struggle. I think Saleh is going to attack this offensive line, particularly on the right side with their right tackle and Jonah Williams over there. I also believe, again, that Kyle Shanahan is going to put together a good game plan to go against that woeful secondary that they have with all of those injuries, especially those linebackers. I believe that we slow this thing down, pay attention on offense. Of course, Kyler's going to Kyler, right? So he's going to get out and maybe have a little bit of success. But I got us winning this one pretty handedly. Even the scores, I believe this is probably going to be a close one early just because we're playing against two running teams. So it's going to be a slow pace, rather, right? We're going to be waiting to open things up. But I think that their secondary being down, Kyle having Mac being able to be comfortable with Mac letting the ball go 39 times with 46 backdrops against the Saints, I believe that's going to be replicated again this week. And I got the Niners pulling this one out.
Agreed. I think those are all great points. There's a lot of ways that the Niners can win this game. There aren't very many ways that Arizona can win this game. And usually when you're making a prediction, you look at that kind of a factor. Is the more ways you can win, the more ways you do win. And I think the Niners have multiple paths to victory in this one, and that's why they get the win.
My guy, let's get one more super chat out the way and then let's get out of here. Chunderboy, $2. My guy, one of the very best shows, like and sub. Hey, Tom is class personified, bro. I don't deserve Tom, guys. Tom is the best,
come
man.
on, coach.
Tom's the best,
You're the
man.
best.
Hey, look, let's get out of here.
Thanks.
Let's get out of here, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you do. Let's get out of here, guys, man. Hey, this is the coach signing off. Stay low and keep your feet moving. Holla at you guys.